Hey, welcome to another episode of Family Worth, episode 18. It's not about number, those we don't. I don't really count numbers, but just for record purpose, we try to make it a more structured series. But yes, I just want to welcome you once again. Family work for us, it's all about the fact that family is worth these conversations. It's not like I always say, it's not meant to show off or as if one does not have much work to do. I think I could qualify myself and my team I work with as very busy, but because of the issues at stake, the stakes are high with the status of the family globally, anywhere in the world. Though we currently stream from Australia, but when I talk to former colleagues, friends, relatives all around the globe, it's the same story. Um, Family, the institution of the family, the worth, the value we place on family. And when you actually get to the realm of youth, the leaders of tomorrow, the generations to come, have you wondered or asked yourself, how would family be for them? What's their views on family right now, especially with the world that they are in, where the definition of family has become very fluid, where the value for family has become very fluid as well. So it's worth opening it up for conversations. And I know there will be diverse views, but family worth, it's really just trying to um, lead the need for us to preserve the worth of families. So I just wanted to first of all throw that in. Again, we cannot emphasize enough because the topic of family is quite delicate. I think it's one topic that needs some points of references, some boundaries. Otherwise, anything goes. And in family work, we are not ready for that kind of fluidity. Yes, we want to be open, but we also need to have boundaries. So our ultimate reference is a Christian worldview. And three value statements for us. Key values are love, hope, and faith. I don't want to go over that. I think in previous episodes, because it's so important for us to set the foundations to make sure that we don't lose touch of those boundaries. I keep repeating them, but today I don't want to spend much time. I want to keep these episodes as short as possible, unless when I have guests. So, previous episode we've tried to explain some of these foundational aspects of family worth. So, love, hope, and faith are very important narratives for us. We also talk a lot about wisdom because it's one thing to know the right thing to do, it's another thing to do it rightly. So, in family work, we promote that value as well, the value of wisdom. Uh, and balance. Balance is a big thing for us. It's always life these days. It requires balance on almost every aspect. So we try to make sure we promote balance because we will always have different views. We will always have different cultures. We will have differences. So we try to, and this goes back again why we need a point of reference, which is for us a Christian worldview, but at the same time, even beyond, even another layer, or if you like, a layer below that is the issue of balance. So we try to promote balance. I may have my view, I may have my interpretations, and I have a lot of mentors who can call me aside later on beyond this program or this live stream and tell me, Ephraim, you got that wrong. And I'll be the first to explore it. And then if I am, I would definitely come back online on stream and declare it. So balance is very important. There is no one way, especially as humans, we have our own weaknesses. So we try to promote balance, especially in conversations like this. Today, like I said, I want to try and make this today sweet and brief. So today we're going to be continuing our series around considerations for new beginnings. And we're currently on self-worthiness. Our first part was on it was on self-discovery, because really, how can you start talking about value if you don't know who you are? If you don't know who you are, how can you add value to yourself? So we started with that. You can look at the previous episode to get that part of the story. But we're now on self-worthiness, self-value, which is also very important. And last fortnight, we came to a point where we know that it is not always that everyone will feel so high or so sure that we place that value that we deserve, that we have been made of on our lives. There are times, there are situations in life that come to challenge the value that we are made up of. So today we just want to try and bring some few thoughts, which hopefully, even if you see this post-production, you can consider them, you can reflect on some of the points we're bringing. And the subtopic for today, and you see why we have that subtopic, is in 4 parts: the what, the who, the why, and the how. I just want to quickly observe with you that I have the picture of a young man on this flyer, and that is intentional. Because sometimes, of course, we're talking about family. Our major focus on family work or in family work live stream is on the family. We know that life encompasses other things, but family is our initial and our main focus. And the value of family, preserving the worth of family. And I intentionally put a picture of a young man here because when we have challenges in families, I think all parties need to know that it's not just about the father and the mother, or the husband and the wife, or the granddad, or the adults in the family. Many times it is about children as well. It is about the youth in our spaces. It is about the younger generation. Many times, these ones that have not really caused the issues, although as we'll see later, it's not necessarily about the issues. But there's a need to look at the bigger picture when we come to the narrative of family. It's not about ourselves alone as adults. it's not about how we feel alone or how situation hurts us alone. It's not about just trying to sort it out for myself alone. And there's a place for self-value and self-care. We know that. But we need to always think of the bigger picture. And the children, the youth in that space are equally important. And that's why I have this picture here. So even though we'll talk about family as a whole, but the youth in our space, the younger ones, they need special considerations. I'm not saying that the only one to be considered. I'm not saying that other members of the family are not important. But sometimes I think in dealing with family situations, there's a need to consider more these components or these how would I put it now, these parts of the families. And they are very important, because I also find out that even as adults, sometimes we could deal with our self-worth. We could rationalize. We can actually, as an adult, we can take time to address issues. But many times it seems the younger ones may not have the same level of maturity, the same level of grit, the same level of experience as the adults will have. And unfortunately, they may linger, they may suffer more, and maybe longer than adults. So I just wanted to put that out there, because I really think, and I say it more often these days, that I do have a soft heart for the younger generation when it comes to the conversations about families. I'm not saying that they're not being cared for enough, but I think there may be a need to do more. I think they suffer a lot when families are impacted. So it's intentional to put this picture here, even though we're talking about the whole family, but I just want us to look at the big picture, the youth in our space, the children, they need special considerations. So coming back to the topic, self-worthiness, the worth, the who, the why, and the how. Why did I bring that focus on those four aspects? And I think it comes from just the topic we are trying to unpack today, self-worthiness. And I know that at times it's not always that we feel 100% about our self-worth. I don't know for others, but for me, that's why it's a daily discipline. It's almost an hourly self-talk, if you like. It's almost an hourly sort of awareness that I am worth it. I am valued. I have what it takes. But 24/7, no, it's not. It's not like that for me. I don't know for you. So there are times we feel the lows. We feel the valley experience. We feel it's not a straight line. There are times that curve drops. And we have to acknowledge that. And that is life. Life throws things at us, sometimes even when we don't expect it. I wish we could be prepared 100%, 24/7, 365 or 66 days, depending on whether it's a leap year. But you and I know that it's not like that. There are times, there are seasons of trials. And I don't think it's peculiar to myself. And that's why I just wanted to pause in the conversation around self-worth to say, let's consider the full picture. There are times we don't feel that value or that self-worthiness. Though the submission of this program today is that you don't need to stay like that for long. There was a particular story, and again, we take our stories often from the Bible, though there may be other references we use because they are also practical aspects of life. But the good thing is that book, it's so complete that it deals with every aspect of life. I've never had an aspect of my life for these many years I've lived, even though I've not lived that long. I still need to live more. But for this relatively short time I've lived, or long, depending on the reference point, I realize that there are many, there is no aspect of life that you cannot take references from the Bible. And again, some audience of Family Word could refer to other books of wisdom. We're not going to argue that, but in Family Word, primary reference is the Bible. So there was a story of a man that was born blind. I just want you to picture that situation. And imagine if it were in your family. Because truly, some people experience it. In every area of the world, we know that because of the level of healthcare in some areas, it is less prevalent. But there are situations that still happen, irrespective of where you are in the world. So this particular case was remarkable and is not unique. This man, of course, by the time Jesus met him, he was already a man, but he was born blind. And that's just that case. So in the equation of the four components we're looking at today, the what, the who, the why, and the how. The what of situations where self-worth could be down, many times is not so hard to find. For this case, it was a man being born blind. So that what could mean many things. The what could mean a family where a child is not is not doing well in terms of I just want to balance that because well could be relative. But maybe a child has gotten a youth in a family is now hooked on drugs, hard drugs. Is dealing on illicit drugs. And that could be the what of that family. And that could be confronting. What about situations of bereavement? And it is, I'm not saying any of these to really trivialize such situations. And these are tough situations. Or maybe a family going through separation, whether the husband and wife, child and father child and mother. So there are different kind of separations, and none of them is easy. None of them is less. Eh, it's None of them is easy to deal with, and these are issues of life. What about loss of job, of career? And then being without job for years, for whatever reason. So these are the what's, and what's of life are becoming. I mean, it's not something you have to go too far to find. Even in your own family, in my family, there are what's. There are what's. And coming back to our case study, this man was born blind. I can just picture the day of delivery. Thankfully, in some places of the world today, it could be picked up early, so you know what to expect. But I don't think it's going to make it easier. So the what is that the man was born blind. Yes, family that was expecting, like any other family, a healthy child. But behold, that child came with a disability. And it could be other form of disabilities as well. So the point is that the what is not so rare these days. And where there is a what like that, like this man that was born blind, people will always do what they did in his days. They came to Jesus and start asking him, who sinned? Who caused it? So let me paraphrase, because really we need to unpack it. Who caused it? So this comes the question of who. Remember I said the what is not hard to find. The who comes up where there is a what. Who caused it? Who did it? Who is responsible? Who is to be blamed? Who can we hold accountable for this? And I know, especially in the corporate world, it is so common. That's why when there is a disaster in the corporate world, of course, especially in the Western world, the next thing is that the leader has to go, because there is always the issue of accountability. And I understand that, particularly in the corporate world. So that's the who. It always comes up in a family context. If there is a child that there's that got out of line, if I may put it that way, and maybe went into bad company and then became hooked on drugs, um, the question will come up: who? And in this program, we've led conversation on the very hard topic of suicide, which it's confronting, especially like we've seen here in Australia when a young person takes their life. You cannot help but ask, who? And of course, psychologists, researchers, psychiatrists are quite busy with that question as well. Maybe not so much of who, but they always add that to their studies. And I'm not an expert in that, but I just know that it's real. Who, whenever there is a situation like that, that really brings that curve of self-worth down almost to the bottom of the graph, that question will arise. Who? But one remarkable thing, again, going back to our reference, talking about the days of Jesus, he redirected their focus. And I think this is one of the key takeaway from today. Of course, one of the earlier takeaways that we want to drop in with regards to this episode is the fact that situations will come to make our self-worth to be down, sort of. It's not as if it has ever been down, but our perception of it could go down because of situations. And that happens in life. And then the other takeaway is really this whole issue of redirecting our focus. Because he took, talking about the case study and the times of Jesus, he took the attention away from the what and the who to why and how. He told them, well, it's not about whether he told them even directly. And I know we know that he knew everything. It's not the parents that sinned. It's not the person that's suffering that sinned. And we know that there is that spiritual aspect of it that he took them to, and that area of faith, that it is to manifest something bigger out of the situation. It is to give story, it's to give a message to this guy out of the mess. And I don't want to go into that whole detail, how he took the guy, performed a miracle, and the guy started seeing, and all that whole history of blindness and shame and self-rejection and people rejection and all the side talk around him. I could imagine what this fellow went through being in that situation. He took all away in a twinkle of an eye, and this guy began to see. But our focus today is not on that aspect. In family world, yes, we still believe in a life of faith. We believe in a life of miracles and hope. But the focus of today is the fact that he took their attention away. He didn't say that we shouldn't ask. He did not rebuke them from asking. That's the remarkable part here that I had to reflect on again. He did not tell them that they have done super wrong for asking who and what, but he took their attention away to the weightier matters, to the aspect that will move things forward, the why and the how. Solution focus, forward looking, a situation that will not allow the past to eat up your future. Rather, your future should swallow your past for good. And that is what the why and the how can do for you. So, bringing it back to that equation that we shared one time, the significant equation for self-worthiness. If this equation is not balanced, your self-worthiness will be at risk. And many times, when this equation is not balanced, all those other questions will come up. The what, the who, the why, and the how. Because the what would have arisen somewhere. The what's of life. Which in our case study was a man that was born blind. And I can imagine the status of that guy. It would be interesting to explore whether he had some self-worth despite the disability. And again, I know that some people may see these that have some kind of disability. It's not, the point here, it's not to pull anyone down. And that is the real point, actually, because in disability, there could be a lot of self-value, self-worth. It's hard. I mean, like this guy, I can imagine. And I couldn't boast that I can fully put myself in the shoes of those that feel the pain of disability. But one thing I know is that there can still be self-worth. There can be. And the great thing, a lot of people have gotten it right. We know some influencers that have millions of followers that some of us cannot boast of, and that do have disability. I remember one particular one, a guy that I've forgotten his name now, but he has no arms, no, literally just almost no legs. But he has a lot of followers. He has people that are paying to listen to him. And I can say that if you ask him, he will say that there are times his self-worth is also down. Well, he has over time gotten this equation right. So when this equation is not balanced, it gives rise to this question. So the issue now, which is the focus of this podcast today, is how do we address these questions? What weight? Where should we place more weight? And what is the implications for families? What are the implications for families? What are the importance? How can we apply that principle of placing more values on the whys and the hows? Damn, I'm not saying we should overlook or we should completely throw away the what and the who. Sometimes those are also very important. It's a matter of weight. Where do you place more of the weight? And like I said, remarkably, I had to go back and make reference to it again. Jesus did not say the disciples have sinned because they asked him who sinned, whether it was a man that was born blind or the parents. But he took their attention to the weightier matters, the why and the how. So the question is, what is the situation right now in my family, in your families, that needs these applications or the implication of what we are sharing? What is it? I give a few examples today. Could be with the children, could be with the parents, it could be with separation and divorce, it could be with a child that is really giving the parents headache, it could be with bereavement, it could be whatever. And they are not, like I said earlier on, they are not too scarce these days. Whilst we do self-reflection, while we ask ourselves the question, and I do this myself, the words are there already, the words are before us. So, but I also ask myself, what could I have done differently? Now, this is the who. And I don't mind looking back into my family trees, my roots. Because sometimes roots has a lot to do with situations we face now and into the future. They are there. I mean, psychology will agree with that. I know that they are talking about I mean, it's there that over time, when you see a counselor or psychologist, one of the areas they want to explore is history. But thankfully, there are many schools of thought that now says that is not the only picture. There are other things to explore. And for us in family war, because we're also faith-based, we believe many times things are not as they seem. So in bringing it to conclusion, like God, let's learn to also focus on the why and the how. Much more than, and we're not saying that we shouldn't do the what and the who. Why? Why am I going through what I'm going through now? Why am I having this experience? Why is this happening? And that could, most time will lead you to your how. How do I solve it? How do I get a solution? How do I move forward? How do I spring up from here? How do I preserve my self-worth, self-care, self-value, irrespective of what's happening? Many times that will be enhanced if you do your reflection and the whys very well. Family work will not solve the whole problem. Like we always maintain, we really just want to open up this conversation. Many times we today we've not had a lot of engagement on the platform, which is okay. This is the beauty of this kind of platform. The recordings are there, post-production, and the engagement will continue. People will see this later and still provide comments. And we really will appreciate that. But topics like these, as you know, I am not enough to provide all the solutions. I must accept, I must put that forward first. And family work as an organization is not enough. It's not, because these are issues of life. And many times they will require multiple, multifaceted approaches. But ultimately, we also know that it will require some faith-based approach as well. So consider what we've shared today. The warts of life are not scarce. They're there. They're so there, if I may put it that way. And many times these days they come in different shapes. And in the family context, it is, we know the statistics, for example, that the rate of separation and divorce is astronomical compared to what it used to be. And for us, and again, this is why people know that I work in the space of multicultural and migrant people, culturally and diverse people. For many of us, it is a new terrain, and that brings it in with a lot of challenges. Some people are not handling this situation very well, and it deserves some urgency. So the words are not uncommon in a family context. So I just mentioned one, and that is separation and divorce. And I must say here, even with a church context, the statistics shows that it's equally a high rate of occurrence in the church, which is a little bit troubling. And leaders know that they are dealing with a lot of situations like that. Many times they are not able to resolve it. And nobody's to be blamed here, primarily. It comes back to the subject of today. Rather, we need to ask the question, why is this happening? And how can we at least reduce, if not completely stop it? How? Even if not for this generation, are we thinking of the next generation? How? It seems that I've asked more questions than answers today, and bear with me, I don't have all the solutions, but I'm just opening up for reflection, for considerations. So what and who should not be thrown away, but let's focus more on the why and how. And in family work, we believe in prayers. We believe in hope. There is hope. There is hope for the family. There is hope that the worst can turn around. So I just want to bring it to a close today. It's one of those days where, yes, I would like to be more upbeat with the topics of today, but no, some of these topics are sobering. And I cannot pretend about it. I cannot be pretentious or trying to paint it what it's not. It could be sobering when you look at the state of the family. And again, some people are getting it right, and I give them big credit and kudos. But we must continue the conversations. We must be a little bit more open with the issues, but with a solution focus. And that is one of the core of today's discussion or conversation. Moving more away from the what and who of these issues to the whys and hows. I am doing more of that myself because I don't know whether anyone is immune from challenges that face families. So thank you for joining me. When you see this, I want to thank you for taking time to watch. Leave comments. It's not too late. Every time such conversations are always fresh. Leave comments for us. We'll follow up. We'll provide feedback. And please, when you see this later, let us know where you've seen it from. We also appreciate your feedback, like I already said. And check us out. We always like connections, so please subscribe, join the conversations, make suggestions. We do have topics. It's not an issue. It's not scarce, but we like feedback. We like suggestion. We like ideas. So we hope that you'll keep connecting with us. We also always highlight, because of some of the topics we bring on this platform, please, if any part of today has triggered some emotions in you that you need to talk to someone about, especially one that is confronting, one that leads to feelings of when you don't feel good, you need to talk to someone. Please, if it's depression, or if you feel you're going down because something has been triggered, call this number. This is for Australia. You will have equivalent in your different countries, and these organizations are funded by and supported by government to provide such support, including emotional, psychological support, counseling. Many times they are 24/7, even including young ones. Please give them a call if you need to. Thank you so much for staying with me today, and thank you when you see this and you keep connection. We look forward to continuing these conversations, but today it's all about the what, the who, the why, and the how, and the need to focus more on the latter two than the former two. Thanks for being with me. I'll see you around. Ephraim, bye-bye.